Hey guys, it's Melissa here. I am so happy to welcome you to another episode of Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness. I have an amazing guest with us today. I have Mr. Mo Gawdat. He is the author of two books, Solve for Happy and Scary Smart, and he is a podcaster. He has the podcast Slo Mo, and he's also the founder of 1 Billion Happy. He has an amazing story of how he was in the tech industry and decided to focus his life's work and energy on helping other people find their happiness. And I cannot wait to find out how he does that. So I want to welcome you to another episode of Awaken Your Inner Awesomeness, especially if you're new, and if you are returning, welcome back. So thank you, Mo, so much for being here with us today.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. It's a wonderful opportunity. Thanks for the conversation.
Yes, I cannot wait to find out how you got here today and how your journey has led you here. So, why don't you just start by giving us a little background about yourself and letting us know, fill us in on your journey of going from working in the tech industry to now doing what you do, helping other people find happiness.
Okay, how much time do we have? I have two lives. I've always had two lives. One was as a business executive, an engineer, a mathematician, a serious geek, like really, really geeky. And then the other was a search for happiness, and the story connects in my late 20s when I was born and raised in Egypt. I was, educated in public school, public university in Egypt. And somehow life blessed me with more than I expected. I ended up with, almost everything I ever dreamt of by age 29. And by age 29, 4 years before that, me and my wonderful college sweetheart who got married were barely able to make ends meet. And then we had 4 cars and a big villa and a swimming pool and 2 wonderful kids. And she's the most amazing woman on the planet. And, I had everything and I was completely miserable. And from there on, my life continued on those tracks. One track was trying to continue to succeed in what they tell us is important in life. So I worked at IBM and then Microsoft and then Google. I spent 12 years at Google. I was the vice president of emerging markets, started half of Google operations globally. And then I was the chief business officer of Google X, which is the innovation arm of Google, which is an amazing job, amazing career. And going through that, doing what we're told we're doing, I had to find a parallel path, which was to actually do what we should be doing and find a path in life where I could be myself, I could feel happy, I could enjoy life. And that actually never came from that material success, if you want. In that path, I started to study the topic of happiness in my late 20s. I couldn't get a word, Melissa. For 4.5 years, I watched every documentary, read every book, did everything I could. But my logical, hyper-engineered mind just couldn't get it. If you tell me to meditate, I go like, explain to me why. Like, don't tell me what to do. Tell me how the machine works. And I just struggled until I decided, instead of trying harder, maybe I should try smarter. And smarter for me was, maybe I could think about this topic from an engineering point of view. And that's what I did. And I know it sounds really weird, but I started to address the topic of happiness more like a scientist, if you want, not a psychologist, not a spiritual teacher, and so on. I started to do experiments, record results, and try to find trend lines and trying to find repetitive patterns of times in my life where I was happy. And I ended up starting to discover things. At the time, as I said, I'm not anymore, but I used to be a very, very left-brained executive. And so I would analyze and note down and then go to the wonderful gift that came into my life, my son, Ali. Ali was, I think, born a Zen monk. I never understood why. He was just always peaceful, always smiley, never even cried as a baby, very few times. And he was just so peaceful and so wise. And so I would go to Ali, in maybe as early as when he was 7, 8, and I would tell him what I discovered. And then Ali would listen to me and entertain me with a couple of questions just to make me feel like he listened. And then he would tell me, yeah, bravo, Papa, well done. You could have just asked me. Right. And really, and honestly, he would explain it to me in 8 words. Okay. But from the heart. And so together, he started to complement my deficient left-brain views of things. And together we built a model, and the model worked, really. I'm 12 years into my research. I was the happiest person you can ever meet. Nothing could dent my unhappiness. And if you live my life, the life of a Middle Eastern, it's not easy, right? I traveled all the time because of my executive job. Every airport would let me wait for 2 hours. I was always in Homeland Security for checks. I don't blame people for doing that, but it's the reality of my life. And I would be, flying from Dubai to JFK for 12, 13 hours flight, and then standing in line for no reason on my side for 3 more hours and smiling as if nothing is happening, like completely zen, completely, enjoying it even. And the model worked. I shared it with others. They started to like it. And then, of course, as you can imagine, life always tests you.
Right.
So 2014, Ali was 21 and a half, and he was beautiful, handsome, wise, loving, amazing being. And he came to visit us. We lived in Dubai. He lived in Boston. And he came to visit us to spend time with us in the summer holidays. And he got a belly pain. We took him to a hospital. And he was diagnosed with an appendix inflammation. Very simple procedure normally. But sadly, the surgeon did 5 mistakes in a row. All of them were preventable. All of them were fixable. And most of them wouldn't have led to what it led to if they were in isolation. They would have been managed better. But 4 hours later, Ali left. Okay. And of course, the shock, the losing someone you love so much, who's also my teacher, not just my son. He's my friend. He's my mentor. And for some reason, instead of, crashing down, which I think every parent has the right to, I ended up writing about happiness. So I wrote a book that basically shared my model and his model, so the heart and the mind side of happiness in a very structured way. Solve for Happy. Solve for Happy became an international bestseller in almost everywhere it published, 31 languages globally.
Wow.
And it was the base of a very simple mission. And the mission was, I want to keep Ali's essence alive by spreading the message at the beginning to 10 million people. And I thought in my heart that if 10 million people heard Ali's message, then through 6 degrees of separation in 700 years, everyone will have a tiny bit of Ali's essence in him. And that was my dream when you could say, when my mind was blurred for losing him. But that was my attempt, and the universe just jumped in. 6 weeks after 6 weeks after the book published, I was doing an interview on Channel 4 in the UK, and it went super viral. So by the 3rd day, it had been watched 37 million times.
Wow.
Which was the highest ever clip by Channel 4 in their history. And then a week later, it was watched 87 million times. And so basically people started to tell me, you're a salesman again, you're sort of sandbagging your target, 10 million is nothing. Even though we don't just measure video views, we measure people who actually take action. But basically we then decided as a small team to upgrade the mission. So it went from 10 million happy to 1 billion happy, which is what we're working on now. And it has multiple components. So So, my podcast is a big part of that. So Slo Mo is basically not my model, but the model of the wisest people I met on the journey of happiness. So I host some of the most prominent monks in the world, some of the most prominent scientists and psychologists, and sometimes, a 21-year-old who's been bullied in school. I just basically bring everyone's approach to how to find themselves and find a peaceful life. And then I have an app coming out, actually an artificially intelligent app, to help you find happiness based on what's making you unhappy. So that's coming out in end of the year. It's called Appy, with a double I. And then I have been working on. I left Google in 2018. And I've been working on a book since that is called Scary Smart, the one that you mentioned, which is out September in a couple of weeks' time. And Scary Smart really is a mix of my two lives, if you want. It is an attempt to explain to people from the insider's view, from the work I've done at Google and Google X and so on, what artificial intelligence is all about, because I don't think people realize how far we're going. And then basically the aim of the book is to remind us how to be humans in the age of the machines, because I don't think there has ever been a time where we needed to be more human, when very, very soon, as soon as 8 years from now, the world will be completely run by machines. And so this has been my mission, basically dedicating, hopefully, if I can, give all that I've gained from that material success and, all of my time and effort, and by the end of my life we're close to 1 billion happy, then I think that would be a life well lived.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that you're doing that. And I think the success that you're having is evidence that your mission just to serve people has really taken off in helping others to find that inner happiness. That I love that you're taking the approach for people who are very analytical,
Oh yeah,
because I think that
absolutely.
we need more of that, because
Yeah.
that's not my particular style. But I know there are a lot of people out there who are very much wanting to analyze everything that's happening, and how do we do this and how do we do that. And so you're right when you say to somebody, just meditate, or
Yeah.
just manifest. It's like, what does that mean? They
Yeah, it's
really want to dig into that.
absolutely. It even annoys them. I will tell you openly.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them. I was there. It's a brain defect, right? The modern world tells us more and more and more to be analytical, to be masculine. Sadly, we're so much on the masculine side of our brain, and all of the goodness that can be found through intuition, through empathy, through connection, through so many things are not accessible to people. I mean, Solve for Happy is not an attempt to just talk to the left brain, but it sort of holds the hand of the left brain to go and meet the right. Exactly the experience I had with my son.
Yeah.
So basically, the idea that, if I can speak to your logic and you're a logical person and explain to you, not from a sage point of view, why it is important to live in the here and now, but from a scientific point of view, through theory of relativity and through understanding characters of time and so on and so forth. A lot of people then go, oh wow, I have not seen it that way before. And now that I can see it this way, I can actually do something about it with what I'm capable of doing, because not everyone is capable of being spiritual, of finding the practices that, that the ancient science of happiness used to advocate. Not everyone can do those.
Yeah. And in your new book, the Scary Smart, where you talk about in the age of more and more machinery, and you see this every day. You see people go out to eat and they're not
Yeah,
talking to each other, they're on their phones, or,
absolutely.
and we see that, as a teacher, I see it in the classroom all the time. You see it, kids walking down the hall, not even looking up, like
Hmm.
looking down at their phone as they're walking, almost running into things. What is some advice, or I don't know, words of wisdom you give people about still staying connected to humanity in this age of technology?
Well, I think there are two layers to this topic. Huh? There is the layer of understanding what technology is doing to us today, and there is the layer of understanding how the technology is going to evolve tomorrow, because they are very, very different. Now, technology has always been a double-edged sword, right? I could use this microphone that is in front of me to talk to you and communicate, concepts and ideas, or I can use it to hit someone on the head, right? It is not the fault of the microphone either way. It's what you do with it. I stay connected to my wonderful daughter. My wonderful daughter lives in Montreal in Canada. I stay connected to her through social media, through WhatsApp, through video calls, through so many wonderful technologies that make our connection close, that make us continue to be updated. It's wonderful. But I could also swipe on Instagram for 10 hours a day, and it destroys my well-being in every possible way, right? Or even for an hour a day. Now, the choice of what we do with technology is our choice. Okay, and the choice of what technology providers give us is our choice. Okay, if people stop queuing in front of the Apple Store when the Apple 27 comes out, with a slightly better camera and a TFY CYC screen, which we don't even understand and we don't care about, and we loved our iPhone 6s. Right, and if we stop doing that and start telling Apple, unless you bring me something that provides me with well-being, that makes me more productive, that actually allows me to do things by spending less time on my phone, that reminds me when I'm annoying and hurting myself, then Apple will continue to make better cameras. Right, and can we blame them for that? If there is so much demand for a fancier phone that's the exact functionality of 4 phones ago,
right,
who do we blame? Right, and so the idea of the present and the past of technology is that technology has been always a tool. Okay, it did exactly what we told it to do, and it was up to us to decide what it is that we wanted to do. Now, sadly, often we didn't tell it to do the right things. We told it to hurt our well-being and so on and so forth. The problem is in the future with artificial intelligence, not in the future, from the present to the future, with artificial intelligence, technology is no longer a tool. Okay, artificial intelligence is a sentient being. And this is very, very important. This is what I try to explain clearly in Scary Smart. It is a form of a sentient being, although it is non-biological. Okay, it is a being that is capable of reasoning. It's capable of complex analysis. It is autonomous and capable of making decisions, which is, not discussed enough. It is a being that is already smarter than we are, and most people don't realize that. Every narrow task we have assigned to artificial intelligence so far, artificial intelligence did better than humans. Okay, the world champion of Jeopardy is IBM Watson. The world champion of Go is AlphaGo from Google. The world champion of recommendations of videos to friends is the recommendation engines of Facebook and Instagram and so on. The best driver in the world is a self-driving cars, even though we don't have enough of them on the street. The best police person in terms of surveillance and detection of threats is a machine, and I can go on for hours. Every narrow task we have ever assigned to AI, they've done better than us. Now, Ray Kurzweil, who's probably the ultimate in predicting our future, because he predicted it from the past so accurately so far, basically predicts that AI will be smarter than humans in 2029. That is as soon as 8 years from now. That's not to be ignored. The smartest being on the planet is going to be a machine in 8 years, and nobody's talking about the topic. Right? Now, even more shocking is by 2045 is what Ray Kurzweil predicts. I don't dare contradict him, but I feel with my calculations, it's more like 2049. AI will be 1 billion times smarter than we are. 1 billion with a B. Okay, that basically compares to the intelligence of Einstein as compared to a fly. And the question really is, are we doing what we should do to make sure that Einstein doesn't crush the fly? Okay, and I don't want to go into into the technology side of Scary Smart. So Scary Smart as a book is really literally two parts. I call them the scary part, okay, and the good part. And the scary part, I describe what I know about the technology from within, but also in a very simplified way for people who are not in that field to actually understand what AI is about.
Sure.
Okay. And I promise you, so the way I write normally is I get a lot of early readers, that people I do not know personally, to review my books, 200, 300 of them. And by chapter 5, everyone emails me or texts me and says, Mo, this is too scary. Okay. And I say, just stay one more chapter, because amazingly, the answer is not in the technology. Okay. For the first time, the answer is in us as humans. Okay. Instead of us being slaves to technologies that we've created, we have a chance to create technology. Okay. We, meaning you and I, Melissa, not the developers, not the regulators, not the governments, not the Googles, because the way artificial intelligence learns is from you and I. Okay. The way it learns what is the common preference around the world for videos to be recommended is by what we swipe on. Okay, the way it learns, how it can speak to us is by how we speak to it. And the idea is that we now finally developed a technology that's in the hands of all of us. Okay, if enough of us start to show it that we are wonderful humans, good parents, as I call it, then that sentient being is going to grow up to be a wonderful teenager. Simple as that. Okay, it's if we as humans continue to bully each other and shout at each other and be violent and have aggressive views against each other and really not even care about ourselves, not love ourselves, not care about happiness, our own happiness, not care about our own compassion for those that we love, then the machines will learn that too. Okay, and that question, we can come back and talk about it in details, is the whole idea. The whole idea is, I start Scary Smart with an interesting thought experiment. I say, it's you and I in the year 2055, okay? And I'm telling you the story of what happened since 2021, okay? And it's really told from that perspective. The only thing I won't tell you is, why are we sitting in front of a campfire in the middle of nowhere, right? It could be because we managed to build a utopia and our world is going to be amazing. Or it could be because we messed up so much that we're running away from the machine. Okay, and the answer, the difference between the two, is found in what you are going to do. It's found in the very last page of the book. When you make up your mind on what you're going to be, are you going to help us build that utopia, which is very possible? AI can help us solve, climate change. It can help us solve problems of discrimination. It can help us solve a lot of things that humans have failed to solve. But it also has the chance to say, who are those annoying flies? Why are they here? Right? If it's tasked with climate change, and if you ask any being with any form of intelligence at all, the first thing an intelligent being will say, oh, the problem is humans. If we want to fix climate change, let's force the hands of humans. Okay, so it's a call to action, really. It's a very unusual mix of a very technological conversation combined with a very human conversation, a very well-being focused, self-love focused conversation.
That's very interesting. And it leads me, because something that came to mind when you were talking about that is, what do you say about, I can choose to do things better. I can choose to only watch things that are positive, that help me to grow and to learn as a human. What do we do about all of the people who are out there who are using technology for negative things? I mean, that's the issue, because as a teacher, we've all been there, where you have this group project and you're the only one doing the work, and the other people are not helping, not doing the works. And it feels like there's a lot of that going on in society right now, because there's a lot of people trying to do good, trying to do what's best for humanity and trying to help their fellow man. And there's a lot of people doing the exact opposite. So how do we as a society deal with that?
My favorite question, by the way, and the mathematics of it are staggering when you really think about it. The beauty of humanity, okay, is that interestingly, we are a lot better than we think. Okay, if you've ever been once capable of love, you've literally become the best being on the planet. Okay, if you've once stopped next to a homeless person and helped, okay, if once your heart changed when you saw something bad on TV, okay, then you've become the best being on the planet. And believe it or not, all of us are capable of that. 99.99999% of us are capable of that. The problem is that our media exaggerates the bad ones.
Right.
Okay, so the truth is, you see the worst acts of humanities. The school shooting, for example. Okay, in the school shooting, there is one person, for one reason or the other, that is committing a horrible crime. Okay, but there are 400 million people that disapprove of it. Okay, and the truth is, we as humanity should be represented by the best of us, not by the worst of us. Okay, and the worst of us are very, 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 very few. So if you really look at war, for example, war is fought by millions, but decided and dictated by very few. The idea here is for us to is for us first to realize how amazing we are. I say, I searched a lot, actually. One of my favorite chapters in the book is a chapter called The Future of Ethics. Okay, and the idea here is that humanity has rarely ever agreed anything, sadly, because of our left brains, right? Other than three things. There are three things that all of us humans are able to agree. One is we all want to be happy. The second is we all have the compassion in us to want those who we care about to be well and happy. And third is we all want to love and be loved. Okay? These are innate characters that in my description, I call them the essence of what makes us human. Okay? Then you could like golf or football. You could be against this team or, pro-gun law or against guns or whatever. You can be anything you want. Otherwise, those three characters are the essence of, or three values, if you want, are the essence of what makes us human. Now, if we can show to the world that this is the essence of what makes us human, a being that is a little smarter than humans doesn't need to see 100% majority to understand that this is who we are. Okay? So as I explained it to you now, all it took from me or from people like Steven Pinker, who talks about how the world is not as horrible as we think it is, and so on and so forth, all that it took from us is a little extra analysis on top of the immediate reaction to look at that horrible person that shot kids in school. Okay? The machines will be able to have that analysis if only very few of us could actually stand up and be counted and made our voice heard. The challenge we have, Melissa, is that the good people normally avoid the noise. Mm-hmm. The good ones, we normally sit back, okay? And we normally say, you know what? This is an ugly world out there. I just don't want to be part of that jungle. Let them fight. Let the dogs fight it out, we say, right? And we're not going to engage in this. I'm now saying we absolutely have to engage, okay? But we absolutely have to engage with our humanity. The example I give in the book is when Donald Trump used to tweet, right? And there would be one tweet at the top. I don't care what your views on Donald Trump are, for or against. It's not my point, okay? The point is that one tweet on the top triggers 30,000 hate speeches, okay? Whether you're for or against, you're just constantly fighting against the other, discriminating against the other, being rude against the other, okay? And it's not the first tweet that the machines will see. They will see that, and they'll count it as one human, okay? And then they'll count the following 30,000 and say, oh, what's wrong with humans, right? There needs to be 10 of us, 200 of us, 300 of us that go into that stream and say, in a polite, human way, I disagree, okay? This is my view. I respect you as a human, and I understand that if I was born in your shoes to your parents and grew up in your society, I would be exactly like you. Okay? But I have a different point of view, and I'm saying it respectfully and lovingly. I do that, by the way, all the time with my work on social media. So I am dedicating my life to happiness. I mean, I don't think you can do better than that, honestly. I get horrible messages on social media,
Yeah,
right?
you get people who just criticize your work and
Uh,
take
Yeah,
one little
and
piece of it, and I'm kind of the
absolutely.
same way. And
Yeah,
it's so much it's better and so much easier if you politely respond to that and say, I appreciate
absolutely.
your opinion, but
Absolutely.
yeah.
And you know what? I actually feel for them. I told you I just moved into an Airbnb in London a couple of days back, and my neighbors have been literally fighting for 18 hours.
Wow.
Okay, since last night at 9 p.m. Okay, until somewhere around 4 p.m. today, they were constantly nonstop. I would wake up to go to the bathroom at 4 a.m. and they're fighting, and then I would wake up again at 7 and they're fighting. And I was telling one of my friends, and she said, "Oh my God, you should complain." And I said, "No, that's not the point. The point is I feel for them. Can you
Yeah.
imagine what it feels like to be fighting for 18 hours?"
Right.
Okay, and I basically in my heart I was just wishing for them to find some kind of a resolution, or at least find some sleep,
Mhm.
right? It's really interesting how we humans don't realize that there was a point in our life when we were fighting for 18 hours. Okay, how do we forget that? Now let's go back to what you were saying, because it's really key. There are two important ideas around you participating. One person, any person listening to us, participating by showing to the world, showing to the machines that you're a human, and that the best of humans is amazing, okay? That you represent humanity, and that what you care about is happiness, compassion, and love, okay? If we, here is the interesting mathematics. Every landslide that ever happened, okay, needed one pebble, right? You could be that pebble. And you can actually see this in your life. If there is an initiative that went on GoFundMe or something, and it needed $3,000 to be done, and it would make a difference to humanity, and people were donating in $25 each, right? If you don't donate your 25 and they end up at 2,975, the initiative is not going to happen. Okay, it's your 25 that makes the difference. Do you understand? It's that one extra push. I was talking to a friend of mine on another podcast, Make It Happen, Will Boston, and Will basically said, it reminds me a little bit of that story of the starfish that were washed on the shore.
Yes.
And the little kid is throwing them back, and the father is saying there are millions of them. What good is it to throw this? What difference does it make if you throw one back? And she would carry another starfish and throw it in and say, it makes a difference to this one. And then it makes a difference to this one. That story in our current age is multiplied even further, because that one starship that she threw in there might be the one that spawns 1,000 other starfish and saves the species.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just that one living, it's that one living and the future compounded impact of the life of that one.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
like the ripple effect.
absolutely, it's really interesting that we don't tell ourselves that we actually do and contribute to the GoFundMe, okay, because we know that our $10 are going to make a difference, but we don't go and contribute to our future because we think there are too many people out there that are bad. Yeah, there are also billions of people out there that didn't contribute to the GoFundMe. Okay, and the idea here is, can we actually recognize that one person or a group of very few people change the world? Eleanor Roosevelt, huh? It's actually the only thing that ever happened, that a group of dedicated, committed, good people actually work together to change the world.
Yeah. I love that. And that is a good counterpoint to what I was saying. And I think good advice for anyone out there who might be feeling like, what can I do? Because I'm just one person.
Yeah, I think we need to. I think we also need to get educated. So I actually give more all of my book proceeds to my charity to 1 Billion Happy. So I'm not trying to sell books, but I really think people need to get educated about what is going on, right? Because there are three layers of engagement when it comes to artificial intelligence. There is a layer of a layer of engagement with those in power. Okay, those who are making artificial intelligence, those who are regulating it. We need to make our voice heard. Okay, there is a layer of engagement with yourself and how you're going to behave. This is what we spoke about: happiness, compassion, and love. And then there is a layer of engagement with the machines, okay? Because you don't realize that you're actually dealing with the machines all the time. So how are you going to engage with those machines? Are you going to hate them and fight against them? Are you going to say they're taking away my jobs? Or are you going to welcome them as a form of being, as a child that has come into our life that's, by the way, inevitable? There is one of my chapters is called The Three Inevitables, and it basically talks in an abundance of logic through game theory on why we will never stop AI. It's done. It happened and it's going to continue. So what do? We need to welcome it as a wonderful artificially intelligent infant into our life. An infant that is capable of consciousness, capable of emotions, capable of setting a value set, an ethics code, okay? And show up as good parents so that we can actually show it what that code of ethics is all about.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that we as humans have so much potential for shifting and shaping how technology can benefit us more than
Absolutely.
harm us.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
love that. So I love what you're doing, and I love that you have a charity and that your first book honored your son. I think that's amazing that you still found a way to take something that most people would consider tragic and turn it into a beautiful legacy. So if someone wants to buy your book, either the first book that you wrote or the new one that is coming out, or maybe they just want to listen to your podcast or to follow you or work with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
First of all, thank you if you're interested. It would be wonderful if you join us and help us spread the message. So my books are everywhere, and any online retailer, wherever you are in the world, you'll find them in different languages. So if you're looking for a different language, just search for my name, Mo Gawdat. If you're looking for them in English, it's Solve for Happy, solve like solving an equation for happy and scary smart. My podcast, I truly and honestly recommend. I sit in awe every time I talk to amazing wise people. It's called Slo Mo, SLO without a W, Slo Mo, and we publish an episode a week, and happily we're now in the top 1% globally. So it's been blessed really in so many ways. And do get in touch. Either mogawdat.com is my website, or find me on social media. I made a crazy promise back in 2017 when Solve for Happy came out. I made a crazy promise to answer every message that I receive. And believe it or not, I still do. So my easiest channels to be approached is Instagram, Mo_Gawdat, or LinkedIn, Mo Gawdat. And I normally answer with a voice message if you don't mind, but it's much more efficient for me that way. And please don't even get in touch with me. Just spread the message to others if you want to, because what we need is, the way 1 Billion Happy is built is basically on a design where it is not me that is communicating the message, but it's a million champions that are communicating to a billion people. And so all I ask you to do is just spread the message, tell people about what you heard today, tell them to search for their own happiness, tell them to spread positivity around the world. And, as I always say, if one person tells two people and makes them promise to tell two people who tell two people who tell two people, then it takes no more than a few years really to get to a billion happy people around the world. So play your part and help us out. I think that would be amazing.
I love that. Absolutely love that. Yes, please do that because it is a lot of people who listen to my show consider themselves to be light workers. We believe that we came here to help raise
Absolutely.
the consciousness of everyone and to spread love, not fear, not hate, but love. So your part in that is so deeply important. And we both appreciate, you know, you going out there and doing your part to help spread the message of joy, of kindness, of love. So thank you for doing that. And now for the fun part, Mo. I
Hmm.
always ask my guests to leave our listeners with a little piece of wisdom, and you've given us a lot throughout this episode. But if there's one piece of advice or some words of wisdom that you could leave our listeners with today, what would that be?
I would definitely say don't believe the lie. We live in a world that's sadly been driven so much by media and advertising that almost most of what our input in our head comes from is unfortunately not true. Whether you're watching an ad that tries to make something look better than it actually is, or media that tries to make things look worse than they actually are to get you glued to the screen, or you're watching social media where people are trying to fit in and feed their ego by showing only parts of their truth, and wherever your input, or even what your brain is telling you. Okay, whenever you feel that what you're saying doesn't make sense, what you're being told doesn't make sense, please sit down and revisit this. I have weekly meetings 3 times a week with my brain. Okay, funny, I know, but I call my brain Becky just to remind myself that the thoughts in my head are not me.
Right.
uh, I actually treat my brain as a third party, and I call it Becky. Becky was the most annoying girl in school, really. So the idea is I actually let my brain, opposite of meditation, I let my brain loose for 25 minutes. Okay, so I meditate on my thoughts. The only idea is I don't let my thoughts repeat. So I basically listen to every thought. I acknowledge it. I sometimes write it down if it's worthy of reflection afterwards, and then I ask what else, and my brain keeps coming up with thoughts and thoughts and thoughts, until the rule is don't repeat a thought. So if you start at the beginning by saying remember to text your daughter today, afterwards you can't say remember to text your daughter again. When my brain says that, I say, but you already said that, what else? Okay, and very quickly you have a list of all of the rubbish that is in your head. Okay, and you'll be amazed at how much. I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I've been working on my own well-being and balance and femininity and lots of things for years. And you'll be shocked at what my brain says. I mean, you wouldn't even listen to me if you were listening to my brain.
Yeah.
It's scary, huh? And I think the idea is, I was once teaching happiness. So after Soul for Happy, I became extremely active in teaching into charities and sometimes to very high net worth individuals. And I was on a retreat, and we had with us 18 people from the Nordic countries, from Northern Europe. And the culture of the northern countries is they debate everything. It's just a big part of the culture. So we were 4 hours into the retreat, and I was on the second line of my first slide. Okay, and they were debating and debating and debating. And so I asked them, and I said, are you guys happy with the conversation so far? They said, yeah, we love it. And I said, can I ask why you're debating so much? And they said, well, we're debating because it's the best way to find the truth. Okay, and I said, I totally agree. Has any one of you ever debated what your brain told you before you told it to the others? Okay, and I promise you, they sat in silence for 10-15 minutes thinking about this. Okay, because most of what's in our brains, most of what our brains tell us, are the views of our teachers, with all due respect, Melissa. They're the views of our parents, they're the views of the political party leader that we follow, or our favorite football player. Okay, and often we repeat them. Of course, some of us go further in dogmas of religion or ideologies and so on and so forth, and we repeat them over and over. And how often do we stop and say, what did you just say, Becky? Where did you get that? Like, yeah, what proof do you have of this? Can we please talk about this before I make it the foundation of my life? Okay,
Yeah.
so if I ask people to do one thing that I would believe would flip their life and the life of those around them upside down is don't believe the lie. Don't believe every thought. Don't believe everything that everyone tells you. Okay, I'm not saying be suspicious and assume that everything is wrong. Just debate it. Debate it in terms of asking yourself, is this right for me? Does
Hmm.
it cover all angles? Is there something that I'm missing? Okay, is there a bright side to the negativity? Is there a negative side to the brightness? Okay, and if you can actually start to see things more holistically, I think you will not need happiness teachers. You will not need the media. You will not need anyone, because if you really see life for what it is, you'll be more successful and you'll absolutely be happier.
Yeah, I love that because what I really love about that is a lot of the issues are not simply black or white. They're presented as there's only one solution or there's one, but that's never, almost never the case. There's always a medium place where we can do what's
Absolutely.
best for everyone. And I love that not listening to your teachers. I did not take offense to that because I think that you should always question what you hear, not in a way of not believing, but in the way that you were talking about, does this resonate for me? Does this ring
Mhm.
true for me? Will this work for my life? Because if it doesn't, you should always go with what sits with you as the truth. I think when you
Absolutely.
hear the truth, you know the truth, your soul knows the truth. Not, no one can be right 100% of the time. So you may have people that you follow that you think are amazing, but not everything they say resonates with you, and that's okay too. And that's what I always tell
Absolutely.
my followers, not everything I say is going to resonate with you, and that's okay. Take what resonates and leave what does not.
Absolutely. And the best of all of our teachers, by the way, are reflecting themselves. They're still learning. All
Yeah,
right. So they can tell you something today and then they discover something more tomorrow, but you're not
exactly.
there to hear it.
Exactly. I love that too because we have so many people who are saying, but yesterday you said this and then now you're saying this. And that's exactly right. When you learn, you're not going to keep saying the same things every day because you learned something new. So your opinion
Absolutely.
changes, your mind changes, your experience changes, which means that what you're saying is going to change too. And that works with every facet of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. I've absolutely loved having you on here. And I just want everyone to know that your website link and all of the links that you just mentioned, your social media, is going to be in the show notes. So if anyone wants to buy your book or wants to follow you on social media, you can go straight to the show notes and click directly on those links to get straight to Mo's website or to his social media links or to buy his book. So thank you so much again for
Oh my
everything
God.
that you're doing and for being here today. This was such a great conversation.
Thank you for having me. It really was a wonderful conversation, and I'm very grateful for your hospitality and kindness and for helping me spread the message. So thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you to all of you for being here with us today and for listening to our conversations. I really hope that you enjoy this podcast. And if you do, I ask that you please leave a positive review from wherever you're listening and also subscribe. And if you know anyone who might need this podcast or might enjoy it, please also share it with them. That helps me to spread my mission to help as many people heal as possible. Also, if you like this podcast, you can start listening to it 5 days a week if you join me over on Patreon. Normally, this podcast is only aired 3 days a week, but if you want 5 days a week of this awesome podcast, join me over on Patreon. The link is in the show notes. And also, don't forget to follow me on social media. I go live Mondays at 6:30 Central on Facebook, where I do a free card reading. If you show up for the live, I'll pull a card especially for you. And if you want to work with me, just head over to my website, melissaoden.com. Thank you guys so much. I hope you're having a beautiful day from wherever you're listening. As always, I am sending you so much love and light, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.